Hello and welcome to this historic airfield in Cambridgeshire, now part of the Imperial War Museum. It's dedicated to the stories of people who've lived through conflict.
Throughout Remembrance Week, we are honouring courage, celebrating heroes and remembering those who've suffered life-changing injuries.
This is how the people remember. All this week, I'm exploring some of the treasures here. On today's programme, courage and sacrifice. Good morning from the Imperial War Museum in Duxford. Today we're hearing about the extraordinary bravery of people who put themselves in harm's way to protect others.
We have some stories of great courage both on the battlefield and on the home front.
Our guest today is long-suffering Dot Cotton. June, welcome to the programme. Tell us about your war years. Where were you during the war?
Well, I wasn't a brave warmonger, as they say, so I didn't have to go through all the bombing that the people in London did in the big cities.
Well, you say that, June, but you actually came under fire a few times, didn't you? You saw some action.
Well, in a strange sort of way, and flattened myself against the door because I didn't go in. I wasn't a customer. And then when it had gone, I just came down and waited at the bus stop again.
And you, like so many other children, you had to leave home, didn't you? You had to be evacuated.
And I went with only two.
I know you've got some wonderful stories to tell. You're going to tell us more about that in a moment. But as we heard, June was one of thousands of children evacuated during World War II to keep safe from the bombs.
But there were lulls during the bombing, and with youngsters missing home, parents were faced with the choice of leaving their children in safer parts of the country or bringing them back to the potential danger of the cities.
Historian Richard Van Emden has been finding out about the agonising decision one family had to make. Incredible to think that little girl saved her brother's life.
Now, June, when you were evacuated, did you feel safer being away from Ipswich?
There were one or two incidents, of course, but I won't. And anyway, it was in 3 acts, and after the second act, the warning sounded, the air raid warning, and we were walking home, and they were bombing Coventry. And it was red. The sky was full of flames and red. We could see the tracer bullets, well, the AK guns they were, and planes in the searchlight.
You've been evacuated, you were a child. How long were you away from home? Did you miss home?
Oh, very little time, you see. I mean, we were home for Christmas. We'd gone, I think, probably about September.
So when you were back home in Ipswich, do you remember seeing planes flying overhead?
And tell us about the shelter that your aunt built in her garden.
Well, we had a really good shelter. Well, since the beaches were mined, or during the war, because maybe of invasion.
Being inside it?
Oh, yes, that was the day when the bomb bays opened and the bombs started falling. And do you know, I was really frightened.
But it's just being in that confined space and not being able to see. Incredible memories, June. So vivid all these years later as well. We'll talk to you more later on. But now, when the First World War began, it was during an age of empire. The men fighting for Britain came from across the world, but one country stood out for the sheer numbers of soldiers it sent to fight.
As many as 1 in 6 soldiers fighting with the British Army were from India. More than the number from Wales, Scotland and Ireland combined. It's a contribution that often goes overlooked.
Memories of VE Day there. What do you remember of VE Day?
Well, not very much, really. It was a private party, because I was up in Scotland, in Argentini. I would say I was drinking pink gin at the time. It was a very naval drink. I think it's gin and Angostura bitters. And we had fireworks.
And you were in Scotland, had joined the Wrens. When did you join the Wrens?
Cigarettes, I'd have their tins.
And what about the spirit during World War II? What are your memories of that?
And it is true that we thought we would win because of Churchill. He was so positive. He didn't think we'd win himself. There was a lot of misgivings there, I believe.
But your overriding memory isn't one of people being terrified, as you say?
No, but maybe I lived in a part of the country where I didn't suffer so much. We didn't suffer so much. Yeah, a long time ago. She didn't.
June, wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your memories with us. Now, This museum site is vast. I heard the story of the incredibly brave Sikh soldier Manta Singh, who died saving the life of his English commander. Well, 100 years later, a very special relationship has come from that sacrifice.
It really is the case that so many of us wouldn't be here today if it weren't for the courage and sacrifice of those men who fought in the trenches.
With us now is Nicholas McCarthy. You are the world's only one-handed and at the age of 14. How did that go?
Well, I actually wanted to be a chef, which I don't know. I only have one hand, but yeah.
But how do you play it? I mean, is the music specially adapted?
And you've got a particular passion for music that was written or composed around the World War I period.
In battle, as so many did, Ravel and Prokofiev and Benjamin Britten, he paid them vast amounts of money to write left-hand alone concertos for him.
What are you going to play for us now?
Well, I've done one of my own. I wanted to arrange this piece for left-hand alone as a tribute to that era.
Well, can't wait to hear it. We'll leave it to you.
Thank you.